Hi everybody, it's Meg from Books Off the Beaten Path, and today we're going to be talking about women. It's all about women. We might have a little bit of controversy. There might be some controversy coming up. So if you're into that, or even if you're not, let's just see what happens. Let's see what happens with my little bit of controversial opinions about some things. So I've got these books and they're all women-centered. They're not fiction. I don't have any fiction. And so they're written about women, often by women. One of them, I think, is not written by a woman, but let's just dig right in. Okay. Now, I have little Post-it notes on my books so that now I don't have to go leafing through and have those senior moments. So we'll see what happens. All right, so this was the first one that I wanted to show you. This was a book that I was given as a gift, and it's called The Victorian Woman. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful book. It is mostly filled with illustrations. Let's see if I can show you a couple there. It's filled with art, it's filled with photos, and they do have text about what life was like for the Victorian woman, which would, it wouldn't suit me, but I love those dresses. Don't you love those dresses? But I have a few pictures marked here that I just wanted to bring out. Okay, first off, we've got this one here. Now here is a photo of a woman. Can you see that? And she's chained up. She's got her wrist chained up. That was a trend in the Victorian times to take pictures of women as victims. The women were but were taught that they were victims, and men, of course, were all into that, the whole victim thing. But this particular photo, guess who took it? Can you guess? Can you guess? Lewis Carroll of Alice in Wonderland. Everybody's always thought he's been a little weird. I thought so. I wanted to show you a couple more things. This I love. Well, I guess that's harsh to say, but this is mourning jewelry, and it was a trend started by Queen Victoria after Albert died. And so there's a whole, you can find them in antique stores, but there's a whole specific line of mourning jewelry. So not only were they wearing the black dresses and the black bonnets and everything like that, but they were wearing jewelry, jet black jewelry too, for their mourning. This is one which I think is particularly harsh, but it paints the period of time. This one is called The Bastard Child. I don't know if you can see the whole thing. Anyway, obviously our young lady in the doorway has had a baby out of wedlock, and Dad is throwing her out, just tossing her out like a piece of trash. I'm glad we don't do that anymore, or most people don't. And then this is the last one I'm going to show you on this, because I just think that this is one of the most beautiful portraits I've ever seen in my entire life. Isn't that gorgeous? Look at that dress. Now, I just want to read to you a little bit about this woman. She was, her name was Lady Colin Campbell, and she was Gertrude Elizabeth was actually her name, but, Lady Colin. And she apparently had so many affairs and was accused of adultery so many times that when they had the court trial, which I guess is what they did back then, it was all over the scandal papers. But look how pretty she is. I mean, I'm not condoning adultery, but come on. It's a gorgeous woman. So if you're interested in the Victorian woman, which is all about life in that particular time period, but just from a woman's perspective, I'd pick this up, especially if you like any of the illustrations or the photographs. It's very informative. Okay, so the next one that I'm going to show you is one that I read so many years ago, and I just loved it. You know how I troll all of the old bookstores and I'm in and out of them and everything like that? Well, this one I got it first because it had one of my favorite things in it. I love it when somebody writes something inside the book. So this was a Merry Christmas present. Merry Christmas to Sylvia. And it was from Martha Gale. I think it's odd that Martha had to put her last name. You would think that Sylvia would know who Martha was, but she felt the need. And then what Sylvia did, which is another thing which I thought was really cool, was Sylvia put in her own little, hold this up so you can see it, book plate. Can you see that? I'll read it to you. It says, books are keys to wisdom's treasures. Books are paths that lead upward lead. Books are gates to lands of pleasure. Books are friends. Come, let us read. This book belongs to Sylvia Drew. I just love it. I just love it. But anyway, let's talk about the book. So what the book is about famous women. And it's just kind of these little biographies of famous women. And in it, we have everyone from Cleopatra, Joan of Arc, Mary Queen of Scots. We have Charlotte Bronte, George Eliot, Florence Nightingale, Susan B. Anthony, Frances Willard, Sarah Bernhardt, Helen Keller. And they're just, they're these just little biographies of them. But my absolute favorite one, and then each chapter has a portrait of who you're talking about here. This is my absolute favorite. This is Jane Addams, not related to any of the presidential Adams, but she was one tough cookie. She was one smart cookie. She shared the Nobel Peace Prize with Nicholas Murray Butler in 1931, which I think was kind of unfair because once you read it, Jane was doing all the work, but I guess we were still stuck in that, well, she's a girl, so she can't have the award on her own. But she was my Post-it note is stuck to my arm, so let me get it off. She was basically a sociologist, and she opened this place called Hull House I believe it was in Philadelphia. And she understood that they had all these little pockets of neighborhoods that had different immigrants in it. Like you had the Italian pocket, and you had the Irish pocket, and you had the Polish pocket. And they were suffering greatly because they weren't getting paid a lot of money, and food was scarce, and medicine, of course, for their children was very hard to come by. So she opened up, she had a lot of money, and she opened up this house where they could come and get help. And it's called Hull House. And I just can't imagine all the good that she did. I mean, it kind of goes through, she was huge into taking children out of the factories. She was very against child labor. She went to Washington to talk about that. She was just great. She was a big pacifist. I believe she was a Quaker. And so she did get into a little bit of trouble over World War I because her friends were not into let's not fight. Her friends were like, let's go. She didn't want to go. So she got into a little bit of a controversy there. But then to her, and there's a wonderful quote in here that I want to read. As she lay dying, her family was talking about her, and one member of her family, doesn't say specifically who it is it just says that this family member said, her know just one people. She had no one religion. She loved all people and all religions. Now, how many people can we say that about today? Not too many. Not too many. So anyway, this book, if you can find it, it's called Living Biographies of Famous Women. It was copyright, gotta get the copyright. We know it was a gift in 1954. It was copyright in 1942. And I think you'd enjoy it so much. I just really do, because you've got the big names in there. You've got Cleopatra, Joan of Arc, but some of the, like Frances Willard, who was this big temperance crusader, pioneer girl and everything. She is very interesting too. I thought she was super interesting. But anyway, so that's that book. Put it over here. We've discussed it. So it goes in that pile. Now, the next one, we're getting close to the controversy. We're getting close. The next one is completely not controversial. It's just one that I've loved for a long time. This is called Sand in My Eyes. Can you see that? Sand in My Eyes. And it was written by Seigniorage Russell Lane. And it just tells the story of a woman who marries this guy, and they go to live in Woodward, Oklahoma in the 1880s. And I am from Okie dokie. I don't know if you can see my shirt today. I'm wearing my Oklahoma Pride shirt. And so, I mean, it's just a great, nothing much really happens in it. It's not like I ever thought she was in any immediate danger. We don't have any Indian raids or anything like that. But it was a lot more sophisticated, this life, than I thought it would be. One of my favorite stories was she insisted that her children learn to play the piano. So they had the piano. So the daughter hated playing the piano. And so the Señora made a pact with the daughter. And so she said, as long as I'm doing the dishes, that's how long you have to practice. And so the daughter was like, okay, cool, fine, whatever. So what she would do is the Señora would go in and she'd do the dishes, and then she'd sit down and read. And then as the daughter was playing the piano, if the daughter started to stop playing the piano, she'd like shake the plates. And she kept plates and forks and everything like that. So the daughter would still think she's working so she could play more piano. And I just thought, well, that's kind of nice. Kind of a smart way to do that. But yeah, it was more sophisticated than I thought it was going to be. I honestly don't know if she glossed things over or if they just had a very peaceful life. But this is wonderful if you're from Oklahoma, or even if you're not, if you're just into the kind of the pioneer experience of the West before it became Hollywoodized. Is that a word? I don't know. But it's a really good book. Sand in My Eyes. Okay. I had to include a cookbook. I just had to. And cookbooks, they're not really my thing, but I like older cookbooks. And I had a big fit this week because I have an original 1951 or something like that Betty Crocker cookbook, and I can't find it anywhere. I think I might have loaned it to someone. And if that someone is watching who I don't even know who it is, bring it back. I want that book back. Let's calm down. So this cookbook here is from, where is this from? I know this 1931. It was from the St. Patrick's Parent-Teacher Association. So I come from a long line of Catholics, so we got a lot of church stuff floating around. But anyway, I loved this one because it starts out, they have 15 thrifty thoughts right here. And one of the thrifty thoughts that I thought was so interesting was, after you take your food out of the oven, get a big pot of water and put it in the oven so that it will heat up, so that while you're eating dinner, when you're finished and you need to wash the dishes, you'll have hot water. Oh, that was kind of smart. I don't know why they didn't have hot water in 1931 coming through the pipes, but apparently somebody didn't. And then I had to include this. This thing is just perfect for this book. Perfect for this book. This is a little poem that opens the book. I don't know if you can see it. It's called 500 Ways to Please a Husband. We may live without poetry, music, and art. We may live without conscience and live without heart. We may live without friends. We may live without books. But civilized man cannot live without a cook. Ah, That's cool. And they just have all sorts of stuff in here. They have the melon peach cocktail, orange fruit cup, all sorts of things that you're never going to, stuff you're never going to, scalloped asparagus is in here, which I've never even heard of. I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to do that, but and they have a lot of cabbage recipes. That must have been big in 31, obviously, because, we had the crash, the stock market, and they were doing what they could. But I had to include that cookbook because I think that just like Emily Loring said in one of her books, and if you want to go back and check that video out, please do. No one is truly educated. No one, man nor woman, is truly educated until they know how to cook. Okay, now we're going to do our controversial 2 books. You ready? You ready for this? So the first one, I'm going to show you the first one, and then I'm going to show you my favorite one. But they're both going to cause a little bit of controversy, so I hope we're ready. Now, this one I read years ago, and I barely remember it. But this one is, you may have heard of it, Sexual Persona, and it's by Camille Paglia. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. It's mostly an art history book, but Camilla is pretty controversial. She's a tough little cookie. She's still alive. She is often described as the anti-feminist feminist. She has so many interesting ideas. I don't even want to call them ideas because she doesn't present them as theories. She presents them as this is just how it is. And you can look her up on the internet. Some people associate her with Jordan Peterson, who I hate. I'm not a Jordan Peterson fan, but I do agree. I do agree with some of Camilla's thoughts, and I will elaborate on that. One of her thoughts that she's very famous for saying is that women won the sexual revolution. We got the pill, we got the freedom to have sex with whoever we wanted to, whenever we wanted to, but we continually make us like children. Infanticide? I don't know. Make us like children because when something bad happens to us sexually, we immediately go to who's my savior, who's to blame. And I'll tell you why I agree with that. And one of my friends and I, we were out eating and we had a great big argument about this and it was just ugly. And we were talking about Harvey Weinstein. And we were talking about the fact that the woman knew Harvey Weinstein's reputation for being a sexual predator, and yet she went up to his hotel room with him and she was sexually assaulted. And I said, why would she go to his hotel room? Well, my friend got really upset and she was like, so you agree with sexual assault? You agree with sexual assault? I was like, no, of course I don't agree with sexual assault. But I agree with Camilla, who says we have to take responsibility for our own actions. We as women are the most powerful, and I agree with this, we are the most powerful people on the planet because we can give birth and we are caregivers. And, I don't know a lot of women that have started wars, but I know a lot of famous nurses that have, gotten everybody patched up so they could go out there and fight again. But so I do agree with that. I do agree that we have to take responsibility for our own actions. Another thing that she wrote, which I just wanted to include because I thought it was funny, was she says that men made groups like Freemasons and things like that. They made those groups because they were afraid of women. Now, she puts it more eloquently like that than that. I mean, I'm not directly quoting, I'm paraphrasing, but they said they found women so mysterious because we could create life and everything like that, that they made these groups to kind of stick together because they were a little scared of us. maybe they still should be. Okay, finally, we're at my last book. This is my all-time favorite. I don't know which one is going to cause more controversy. Sexual Persona, or this one right here, The Woman You Want to Be. The Woman You Want to Be is by Marjory Wilson. It is copyright in 1928. It is the best book. It would have been a correspondence course. So what you would have done is, you're a young woman and you want to be charming and be elegant and everything like that. So you would write to Marjory and you would sign a subscription, and then every week you would get a chapter of this book. And so this book is made up of all these chapters. And let me just read a couple of these chapters' names. And it's wonderful. First, Essentials, like a few strokes of magic, your body talks all the time. You are society, giving a party, when to have it, who to have it, invitations, written or not. The party begins, what will you wear, what will you bring? Points that are pleasing in talk. She has a whole section here about if you get invited to a party and nobody talks to you, what do you do? And it's brilliant what she talks about, what you do. You look at the art in the, I'll give you a sneak preview. You look at the art in the house and you just go over and you're just like engrossed in the picture and really try to look at the picture when nobody's talking to you. I thought that was wonderful. How to value yourself, the little things that count. All of the above is hospitality and persistence and social obligation. And then you have enthusiasm. And then she has this little tiny chapter. It is 12 pages long where it just says men, an understanding of men, a study of the problem of being happy with men. Oh, there's a little tiny chapter on it. I read this book cover to cover. I've read it several times cover to cover, and I use these tips. I often use these tips because I think it's important to be charming. This Moose just groaned. He obviously doesn't agree with that, but I think that's important. I think it's important in our society to be kind, moral, and honest. But I also think you need to be charming, because we've got a lot of people out there who have been affected by this digital age and they don't know how to interact with other people. And so you can learn how to interact with other people. I've never really had a problem with that. I've always been a people person. But anyway, this one was absolute my favorite. The Woman You Want to Be. Well, the woman I want to be is the same woman that Marjory wants me to be. All right, well, we're finished. We're done. I told you 2 a month, and so this is my second, I think. Anyway, I'm going to sign off now, and I haven't decided what we're going to do next time. We may do Nancy Drew and kind of the evolution of Nancy Drew, or we may do romances. Like, I don't know. Why don't you guys leave me in the comments what you want me to talk about? And then we can come up with some great ideas together. Oh, I forgot to say, please give me a like and please subscribe. And thank you so much to the subscribers that have subscribed just this week. I really appreciate it. Talk to you later. Bye.